Wow! It was one of the richest MCU movies in terms of Easter eggs! The MCU is known for creative cameos, Easter eggs from comics and previous MCU installments, and for leaving fans to torture themselves with guesses. But Endgame surpassed it all! Here are the craziest, funniest, and most bittersweet Easter eggs from the last Avengers movie. Watch till the end to find a new trick the MCU pulled on us with the post-credit scene. But mind the spoilers! One of the very first references we come across is Tony Stark saying a suit of armor around the world, arguing with Captain America. It was almost the same thing he said in Avenger Age of Ultron, when he offered to create an intelligent defense program. And we all know what awful consequences the plan had. One of the most shocking moments, though, was Thor's appearance. Oh, this beer-swilling new Thor's image was epic! While everybody on the cast was working out, having a strict diet, we bet Chris Hemsworth was just walking around the gym with a pack of chips. If only we could have a piece of green cloth on our bellies and 24/7 CGI effects of press cubes, right guys? His look is not a hidden Easter egg, but definitely one of the coolest references to the good old classics, Big Lebowski.
I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude.
That's the greatest joke on the Big Lebowski sequel that did not happen. One more reference in that shocking scene with Thor was the popular video game. Well, technically you may call it product placement, but it has a bit of a deeper meaning to it. The Russo brothers are great fans of the game. Last year, Epic Games announced a crossover collaboration with Marvel that allowed players to temporarily play as Thanos. The Russo brothers just had to mention it. But let's move on to more MCU-related references. If you're a great fan of Marvel comic books too, you should appreciate the elevator scene with Captain America and Hydra. It's an allusion to the Secret Empire 2017 storyline where Captain America has been replaced by an evil version of himself, loyal to Hydra. Moreover, it's an epic redo of the elevator scene from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. But this time, he knew exactly how to get out without a fight. Speaking of that back-in-time travel to the parallel universe, we also had a nice Easter egg phrase. When Cap is fighting with himself, he says, "I can do this all day." It's a reference to what he said to a bully during his alley brawl back in the 1940s.
I can do this all day.
Moreover, it's the same phrase Steve said to Tony Stark during the Civil War, when the Avengers were torn apart.
I can do this all day.
Luckily, in the Endgame, it is used in a much more fun context. However, there's still one more question the MCU did not give us an answer to. What the hell happened in Budapest? We know that Natasha and Clint have a great long history together that they often bring up but never really explain. All we know is that something went down in Budapest. This time Natasha brought up Budapest on their way in pursuit of the Soul Stone. The first time they referenced Hungary was in 2012's Avengers, when Natasha said their predicament was reminiscent of what happened in Budapest, but Clint replied,
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
"But do not hurry to despair. There might be a chance that they will show us what happened to Clint and Natasha in the past in the upcoming Black Widow movie." Unfortunately, we know that the events of the movie will definitely take place before the Endgame because of Natasha's sacrifice. So it gives a decent opportunity to finally show Romanoff's past and the secretive Budapest thing. Anyways, let's move on to some delicious Easter eggs. And by delicious, we literally mean food. It's not an Easter egg per se, but we definitely see a tendency here. Whenever some important plan is worked out, Avengers always happen to be around food. In the Avengers, they gathered in a cafe to have some shawarma. And in the Endgame, we see they're around the table having some yummy Chinese food. One more small detail that you could have come across is the number of the storage cage, where the ex-con van was kept. Number 616. It's a reference to Earth 616, the main comic book reality. It is a very pleasant surprise for all the comic book lovers, just as Jarvis mentioned. So, we knew from the previous installments that Tony Stark had the AI called Friday. The name was derived from the antiquated American slang term Girl Friday, referring to a female secretary or assistant, said Jarvis. From the comic books, we know that the former was named after Edwin Jarvis, the butler who worked for Howard Stark. But if you haven't read the comics, it was a nice surprise to find that out. Endgame is full of not only nice Easter eggs, but also had an overdose of cameos. We had the dearest Stan Lee cameo in a 70s car, and a couple of more unexpected appearances of other executives. During the group counseling, we saw Joe Russo talking about his dating experience after the snap. And we also had a glimpse of Jim Starlin, comic artist and the creator of Thanos, Gamora, Drax, and Shang-Chi, whom we will soon see in a new Marvel movie about the Kung Fu Master. And of course, there was Jon Favreau, an executive producer of the movie in the role of Happy Hogan. And speaking of that sad ending scene, we are giving one more Easter egg of another character, Harley Keener. Last time you saw that kid was in Iron Man 3, when he helped Tony to fix his armor when he crashed into his garage. While we were crying our eyes out during Tony's funeral, you could have missed 3 more Easter eggs. One, when Pepper laid a flower wreath with Tony's nuclear heart with a caption, "Proof that Tony Stark has a heart." It's a reference to the same souvenir Pepper gave her then boss in the first Iron Man, one of the saddest moments in the MCU history. The second reference also takes us back to Stark's origins. In the first Iron Man movie, the very first thing Tony wanted when he came back from the Middle East were hamburgers. Our hearts almost wrecked when Tony's daughter said to Happy Hogan that she wanted some hamburgers too. The third reference took place right before the funeral and is one of the most powerful and deepest. We are talking about Stark's phrase, "I am Iron Man." In Endgame, he said it snapping his fingers, and it's the same phrase he said in the end of the press conference in the first Iron Man installment. It's very symbolic. The decade of the Avengers started its way with this phrase and ended with the same one. Heartbreaking. To round up, we promised to talk about the post-credit scene. You already know there is none. Or is there? Well, we hoped you've waited anyway because it's a celebration to everyone involved in film production. Chiefs, graphic and costume designers, helicopter pilots, or any other professional you can think of. But there is some kind of post-credit scene anyway, even though it wasn't a usual visual one. There's a small audio cue when the final Marvel Studio logo appears. It's a sound of metal bashing against metal. Perhaps it's a thankful message to honor the fallen Iron Man. What do you think about it? What other Easter eggs did you catch in the movie? Let us know if we missed any in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe.